And today's topic is areas that you need to pay attention if you're thinking about doing flips. First of all, why would you want to do flips? You have three options in real estate. Buy and hold, wholesale, and flips. If you decide to do flips, the advantage of doing flips is that you can get a big paycheck, right? If you do things right. But this is the thing. When it comes to doing flips, right now, due to the pandemic, I'm going to tell you what you need to stay away from. You need to stay away from big flips, meaning big rehabs, okay? So you need to keep it small. They call it micro flipping, okay? So simple, easy flips that you need to take on, unless you are getting an amazing deal on a property, okay? Because you also have the option to wholesale the property. So let's just dive into the things that you need to focus on and the areas that you need to understand. And most importantly, what is it that makes a great flipping market? So first of all, why would you want to do flips, okay? It's just a way to capitalize yourself, meaning get a big paycheck. If you do things right, then how are you going to do it, okay? So to be able to do flips, you need to have a successful team. So you're going to need to, first of all, find a great deal. Okay, so you're going to need a great deal. You're going to need to have funding, and then you're going to need to have a great rehab crew, and then be able to market the property. Okay, so you're going to need four components, in fact. Okay, as you can see, flips are not easy because of all these factors. If you get one of these wrong, guess what? That's going to tap into your net profit. So we're going to talk about deal. But before we talk about the deal, the funding, the rehab, and market the property, you need to understand what makes a great flipping market. Because guess what? When we got started in real estate, one of our first mistakes was to try to do a flip in a non-flipping market. That was one of the biggest mistakes. So I'm going to tell you what makes a great flipping market, because that's the first mistake that investors make. They get so excited and they say, well, I'm going to buy a property, rehab it, and sell it and make a ton of money. Well, make sure you do it in the right market. So what's a great flipping market? A great flipping market is where properties are selling. They're moving very, very fast. Okay, it doesn't mean that it's a very desirable A marketplace. It means that it could be a B, it could be a C market, but that has a great demand, but yet the supply is short. Okay, so we're gonna need to pay attention to only one metric. Okay, that's called months of housing supply. Okay, and this needs to be less than 2.5 months. That's all you need to understand. So now let's dissect. What does this mean? What it means is that when you buy a property, you rehab it, you're going to put it on the market. So we are referring to the market time. When you put a property after the rehab on the market, it should be on the market for 2.5 months or less. Okay, so there are markets that support that exit strategy. Okay, that means that properties are moving super fast. So how do you compute? How do you know the months of market supply? Okay, we've analyzed over 300 neighborhoods, so we know the top flipping markets, which we're going to share with you. But let me just give you the formula behind these. So you're going to take what this means is how quickly are properties being absorbed in a market. So let's assume that in Des Plaines, right? You have a total inventory of 90 properties, okay? And every month you're selling 30 properties, okay? So you're selling 30 properties a month, right? So the question is, how long would it take before you run out of inventory, assuming no new listings come in the market? So every month, right, you're selling 30, but you have a total inventory of 90. So it's going to take 3 months before all the inventory runs out. So you're going to sell your flip in 3 months or less. So that's the months of housing supply. Okay, how long would it take before the entire inventory runs out, assuming no new listings coming to the market. That's what this refers to, the months of housing supply. Okay, and the way to compute this is the absorption rate divided by the total sales, okay, in that community. But we won't get into the details. I'm just going to show you what those are. Okay, so you don't have to worry, think, create, do math. So we're going to tell you what the top flipping markets are. Okay, the areas that you do need to pay attention and why. Okay, and then you obviously, if you're considering flips due to the pandemic, you need to be in and out. Okay, you cannot spend a lot of time in a big gut rehab because that's too risky. Towards the fall of this year, we're going to have an increase of inventory supply. Therefore, prices are going to correct themselves, meaning you're going to be facing declining prices, 10 to 15% declining ARVs after repair values. So if you take on a big project right now that you think is going to sell for maybe 200,000 in 7 months, think about it twice, because it might not sell for 200,000. It might sell for 180. Today it might sell for 200 because it's a seller's market, but in 9-10 months is not going to be. Okay, so that's something that you have to be cautious when you are taking on big projects. So what we mean by medium to small projects is that the rehab should be less than 50,000. Okay, and that the square footage for the property is less than 2,000, okay, square feet. That makes a small to medium property manageable, where you can do a micro flip. So you're going to be in and out. The minute you start taking on properties that have over 2,000 square feet, that's a pretty big house, over 3-4 bedrooms. Okay, they're going to have a basement, so your rehab automatically is going to go through the roof. So to be able to do a successful flip, guess what? You need to find a great deal. So what makes a property a great deal? A great deal is a property where you're going to be making at least a 20% return on the flip. So how can I find those? What makes it a great deal? Very simple. You need to have a spread of at least 80 to 100,000 from the purchase price to the ARV, and the rehab should be less than 50,000. So that's the secret to identify great deals. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example of a property that we made an offer on today. So hopefully we're going to hear from that. So it came in the MLS for 25,000. This is in Aurora. Aurora is an upcoming market. ARV is 150. So there's a spread of 125,000. And the rehab is going to be 55,000. Okay, so we're going to analyze that property and see if it makes sense. Okay, but again, you need to come up with 3 answers when you're doing a flip. And if you get one of these wrong, you're going to end up losing money. So to identify a deal, you need to come up with an accurate ARV. Okay, so the property we analyzed in Aurora, I had Frank Montreal do a CMA. He said, Hugo, the property is 150,000 ARV after repair value. That's the first number you need to come up with. The second number that you need to get right is the rehab, okay? So he had one of his agents at the property. We were on the phone. He was walking the property. So we estimated the rehab to be 55 to 60,000, okay? It's a small 3-bedroom, 1-bath, about 1,000 square feet home. Okay, typically, if it's a medium rehab for that property, the rehab on a 1,000 square feet would be about 35,000. But here you need to do the entire HVAC system and part of the driveway. Okay, so we're gonna add probably 15,000 right out of the bat. So it's not gonna be 35, it's gonna be 50 plus the cushion that you need. So I would say 60,000 would be safer. Okay, so that's the rehab. You need to come up with an accurate scope of work or rehab amount. And let me give you the rules of thumb on that one. Take the square footage. If it's a light to medium rehab, multiply that by $20. So if the square footage is 1,000 square feet, it's gonna be 20,000. Plus you need to add a cushion of 5 to 10,000. So right off the bat, it's 30,000. Now, this is with the assumption that you're gonna update the kitchen, the bathroom, flooring, paint, light fixtures. We're gonna do light plumbing and light electric, okay? But it doesn't mean that you're gonna redo new systems, right? So the minute you do new HVAC, new plumbing, or new electric, new windows, roof, every system that you redo from scratch is going to be about at least $8,000 to $12,000. Okay, so you've got to be very careful when you estimate your rehab. Okay, so the third point is how much should you pay for the property? That's the biggest mistake investors make, and that's what that's the biggest challenge that we're all facing right now in a seller's market, because guess what? There are so many buyers out there for two reasons. One, shortage of inventory. Two, such historically low interest rates. So that makes affordability going through the roof. People can afford to buy more. So investors who do not understand, guess what? They're overpaying constantly for properties. And that's the biggest mistake they make, because they're not going to make any money. So how much should you pay for the property? Okay. So the most you should pay for a property, again, when you're thinking about doing a flip, is the ARV. You're going to multiply the ARV times 70% minus the rehab. Okay. That's the formula. So again, take the ARV, multiply that times 70% minus the rehab. So let's think about this property that I was just telling you. 150,000, right? That's the ARV for this 3-bedroom, 1-bath in Aurora. Multiply that times 70%. Okay, so let's quickly do that. So can somebody tell me the number? 150,000 times 70%. Minus, let's say, okay, perfect, 105, minus the rehab, I'm gonna be conservative, 60,000. So it's 105 minus 60,000. How much is that? That's 45, exactly. So we're trying to get this property on the contract for 30,000 cash. Okay, many hard money lenders are not gonna fund deals under 50,000. Okay, so we're trying to pay 30,000 on this property. So it's in a multiple offer situation. It came on the MLS yesterday for 25,000. So we're offering 30,000. I mean, we still have some room to go up to 35 because we need to have enough room. And then this is my tip of advice. Even if you're gonna do a buy and hold, you need to pay the flip price, because guess what? The buy and hold formula, it's more forgiving. You're gonna multiply the ARV times 80% minus the rehab. So you can afford to pay more for a rental. Now, let me tell you what happens to the remaining 30%. Why are you multiplying 70% of the ARV? The other 30%, what's the other 30%? 20% is going to be your net profit on the flip. Okay, that's super important that you get that. What it means is that if we sell this property, let's assume we flip it, that we get it on the contract, we rehab it, we flip it for 150,000, we need to make at least a 20% return. So we're looking to make at least 150,000 times 20%, that's 30,000 net profit on the flip. What happens to the other 10%? The other 10% is going to be the cost of money or carrying cost. So it's going to be taxes, insurance, utilities, and that's pretty much it. So that is why you've got to multiply the ARV times 70% minus the rehab. So the property, as Vishal came up with, the most we should pay for it is 45,000. We're aiming to pay 30,000, so we still have enough cushion. So right now, Frank is negotiating the deal on our behalf. Okay. Now the question is, what market should you invest in? Is Aurora a flipping market? Is that a yes or a no? How do you find that out? We need to understand the months of housing supply. How fast are properties moving in Aurora? And guess what? You need to know by asset type. So there's a different months of housing supply for single family homes versus condos, right? Some areas that are, let me give you an example, very high, good, desirable areas like A-type neighborhoods, there's going to be for instance, Des Plaines. There's going to be a lot of flips happening for condos. Why? Because they are affordable, less than 200,000, but single family homes are going to be over 250. Okay, so the barrier of entry, it's higher for single family homes, so there are going to be a lot less flips in Des Plaines. So now let me give you an example where you find that number of the months of housing supply and how you compute that. Okay, so let me share my screen. And then I'm going to give you all the top rental markets. So let me log on to DealVault, and then you can look up any area that you want. So I'm going to start with Aurora. Okay, so area reports, and then we're going to go straight to the months of housing supply. Okay, so let's find out if this is a flipping market. So okay, so right here, it's right here, Aurora. It's a cash flow and then a flip. So in Aurora, it's an upcoming market. You can do both. So we're showing you on the approach, you could do rentals, it's a B market, or flips. So let's go into the details. I'm gonna open this up. So we thoroughly analyze every single area, but I'm gonna go straight to the point, all the way to the sales market analysis for Aurora. Okay, I wanna show you the months of housing supply. So first of all, check this out. Population growth in Aurora, it's through the roof, over 39%. So people are moving into this neighborhood. That is why you can do flips and rentals, because rents are high and people wanna buy there. Therefore, you can do both exit strategies, okay? So now let's go into the really cool stuff, which is the sales market analysis, okay? So we analyze these by property type or asset type. So attached means condos, townhomes, duplexes, and then detached means single family home. So here, months of housing supply, check this out, 1.1 for condos and 1.6 for single family homes. So what that means is that if we get this property on the contract, it's a no-brainer to do a flip. Why? Because it's going to stay on the market for less than 2 months, almost month and a half. So properties are flying like hotcakes in these neighborhoods, okay? And again, it's because population growth. People want to move there. Of course, every neighborhood and market has pockets, so you've got to be aware of that, okay? Hey, Phil, can you send me the address of the Aurora property via the chat? We're going to just plug it in and look at the numbers. Okay, so now to compute the months of housing supply, this is the formula: number of active listings divided by the absorption rate. So as I told you, if there are 90 properties for sale and every month you're selling 30, the months of housing supply is 3 months. Okay, so you want to make sure that you are below 2.5 to make it a top flipping market. Now, why is this a great rental market? Obviously, because the rents are pretty high. So the rent for a 3-bedroom is $1,200. You might think it's not too high, but it's a very, very affordable area. So what's the sweet spot to buy a single family home? Right here. So it's in green right here. Let me highlight. So the sweet spot to buy a single family home is less than 200,000, 190. Sweet spot to buy a condo, it's 150,000. So that is why if we can buy this property for like 30,000, right? I'm putting 60. We're gonna be all in at 90,000, right? And if it appraises for 150,000, we're gonna have 60,000 in equity, which is close to 43%. That's a huge spread, okay? So let me show you the address of the property in just a second, as soon as it comes via the chat. Okay, Phil is looking into that. Now, I'm going to show you the top flipping markets. Okay, so let me show you right here. Let me pull that up. Okay, so right here we have them by suburb and by the city. Okay, the neighborhoods in the city that are the top flipping markets. So let's look at the suburbs first. And I'm going to tell you why these are the top flipping markets. So right here, we highlighted 2 columns right here. So this means that These are the top flipping markets for condos, duplexes, townhomes. And on the right-hand side, these are the top flipping markets for single-family homes, okay? So in this case, Palatine, Downers Grove, Skokie. So as you can see, these are A neighborhoods, okay? So these are very desirable, very expensive areas. Therefore, people want to move there because of the school system, the safety, okay? So in this particular case, Downers Grove, it's at the very top, along with Palatine and Skokie for townhomes, condos. Why? Because they're going to be affordable. So you can afford to buy a townhome for, let me show you right here. Sweet spot to buy a townhome is going to be less than 200,000 for any of those neighborhoods, okay? And then what makes it a top flipping market, right? The months of housing supply. That's how we came up with this spreadsheet. And guess what? In ChicagoDealVault, you can find these. That's how we came up with this spreadsheet. So I can show you under the area reports, this is how we came up with the spreadsheet. So we pick the area type, A, B, C. So right now we're focusing on B and A neighborhoods. Why? Because of the pandemic, C and D were hit the hardest. So this is where you have the white collar employees, and many of them got fired, unfortunately, right? So you're not going to be able to command the top dollars for your flips, nor will you have collectible tenants. So we're focusing on A minus and B minus neighborhoods right at this point. So I can select, for instance, B neighborhood, and then the approach is going to be flip. So when we filter these markets, we're going to be looking at the months of housing supply, and we're going to show you the ones right here that have the shortest months of housing supply, meaning the shortest amount of time they're going to be on the market. So we're going to start off with right here, Crestmont, Forest Park, Hickory Hills. So the way that I like to do this, I like to sort these by the property price, okay? So I'm going to sort them from least expensive to more expensive. So right here, South Holland as number one flipping market for single family homes. You can afford to buy a single family home for about $105,000, okay? So it's very, very affordable. Then you have Homewood, Crestwood, Oakland, Aurora. You see Aurora is ranked in the number 5 when it comes to flipping markets, okay? Why? Because it's very affordable, and yet the population growth is through the roof, and the months of housing supply is super low. So you're gonna have less than 2 months, about a month and a half of market time. So that is why Aurora is a great market for flips and obviously for rent. You just need to make sure that you're in the right pocket, okay? Because every neighborhood, especially in the city of Chicago, has pockets that you need to be aware of. So I'm referring to safety, right? Crime rates. Okay, so we can go down the list: Glendale Heights, Wheeling, Hickory Hills, Raleigh Meadows. Something that you need to pay attention for every single market that you look at is taxes, right? When it comes to flips, what's the impact of taxes on the flip? Market time. So a market where the taxes are above $8,000, guess what? They're going to stay in the market a lot longer. Okay, so that's something to just be aware of, taxes. So make sure that you stay in a market where taxes are less than $8,000 for a single family home, because it's going to sell quicker. Okay, so again, when doing flips, the money is not in the rehab, and this is a big myth and big misconception of investors. They think that by taking on big projects, big flips, that they're going to make big money. And guess what? It's the opposite. You're going to make big mistakes, you're going to have bigger risks, and therefore you may have bigger losses. Does that make sense? So be super cautious about taking on big flips, meaning where the rehab is over 50, 60,000. And that's driven primarily by the property size. So properties over 2,000 square feet, your rehab will go through the roof, okay? And obviously the condition of the property. If we see a good rehab property where you need to do pretty much all the systems brand new, we're gonna skip it all together, okay? Because right now it's not the time, and it's never been the time to do big rehabs, okay? First of all, people who take on big rehabs have a lot of experience when it comes to construction. Let me move this. And even then, you know, on Sunday, we are going to have a face-off, right? So we're gonna be bringing Simon, who owns over 100 properties. We're gonna bring a wholesaler, and then we're gonna bring a flipper, okay? So we're gonna do a face-off, and you're gonna see, I've talked to so many flippers, and flippers who guess what? They have a construction background, and they told me themselves they're not taking on big projects. They said it's too risky. We spent over 9-10 months flipping a property just to make about $100,000. Guess what? Had they done multiple small flips, they would have made more than 100,000 in flips. And guess what? Less stress, less headaches, because you're going to be dealing with less inspectors. You are going to need to pull less permits, and it's going to be overall less expensive, right? So the more of the smaller deals you do, the better off you're going to be, because the money is not in the rehab. The money is the minute you get a great property on the contract. So let me give you an example. If we can get this property on the contract for $30,000, guess what? Maybe I'm thinking about flip, but what about the wholesale, right? Because I told you, if we buy this property for 30, put in 60, all in 90, we sell it for 150, we're gonna make 30,000. What if we just do very cosmetic, maybe clean up, and we wholesale the property? Wholesale the property, because we might need to buy it, right? But we might put in 5,000, and then we market the property again. So it's something that you need to think about, or options that you have. When you get a great deal at a great price on the contract, that's when you make money. Not when you rehab the property, not when you rent it or flip it. You make the money when you get it on the contract for the right price, okay? So again, you need to nail down the ARV, the rehab, and then the most you should pay. And that's what I love about the system, right? In ChicagoDealVault, we're going to tell you all these three numbers. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the power search on this property. I was able to get it from Phil. Okay, so let me pull it up. I'm going to do a power search on this property. So that we can see the numbers. And that's what I love about the system, that the system is going to give you the ARV, an estimated rehab amount, and the most you should pay on the property, okay? So we're gonna make sure that you don't make that mistake, okay, of overpaying for the property. Let me see. So, okay, let me try the search. I know it's on the MLS. Okay, so it's right here, okay? 25,000, so let me go over here. So the most, let me change the rehab. So right now, I don't even need to change anything. Well, actually, I'm gonna make the rehab maybe 55,000. 55, 1, 2, 3. And then, so we're gonna give you the ARV. So we're being very conservative on the ARV, okay? So it's gonna be from 118 to 131. Frank came up with the CMA of about 140 to 150. I'm gonna go very conservative to sell this property for maybe 130. Let's assume the rehab is 55, right? So the most you should pay for the property, if you're gonna do a flip, is 32,000. That's it. So we wanna pay 30,000, okay? Just to make sure that we have enough room. So these are very conservative numbers, but again, we're doing all the math for you. All these formulas, they're already embedded in the system. So we wanna make sure that you never overpay for the property, okay? So again, we're gonna share with you the top flipping markets. Again, you can get them from ChicagoDealVault, but we're also gonna make this spreadsheet available to you so that you can identify them in 2 seconds. What the top flipping markets that you need to focus on. And again, focus on small, simple micro flips, okay? Where you're gonna spend less than $50,000, and the overall market time for your property is going to be less than 2 months, 2.5 months. So let's assume that you take on the rehab and it's going to take maybe a month and a half plus month and a half of market time. You're going to be in and out in 3 months. Okay, so how many deals, how many flips can you do a year if they're small? About 4, right? So imagine if I do 4 small flips making 30,000 a piece, you can make 120,000 a year. So that's way better than taking on a big project because the risk is super huge. Okay, especially if you don't have that construction background, if you don't have that construction crew, right? It's just a big no-no. Okay, so again, we're going to give you the markets to focus on. Now, let me answer the questions on the chat. Okay. Okay, so I'm not sure if I was sharing the screen, but I want to show you. This is a property. I looked that up. So the ARV, again, it's shown right here. Thank you, Phil, for letting me know. So I just did a search on the property. So this is a property in Aurora. The ARV is between 118 to 131. Frank said that it's going to be between 140 to 150. I'm going to be on the conservative side. The rehab, 55, so I can change the rehab, right? And then my max allowed offer is right here. For a flip, it says 32. For a buy and hold, 45. If I want to wholesale it, 26,000. Okay, so the system is going to give you your max allowable offer based on your exit strategy. And I can modify the rehab, right? So if the rehab is going to end up being 50,000, then it will automatically update my max allowed offer. Now for a flip, I can afford to pay 37. So we want to pay 30,000, okay? So that is key. The system prevents us and you from overpaying for the property, making sure that you get it for the right price, okay? So this is how simple it is to analyze, making sure that you know the ARV, the rehab, and the most you should pay for the property. Super critical. Now let's go ahead and answer some questions on the line. So let me go up to the top. Okay, repair. So Kathy, you want to understand repair expenses. Okay, so right here on any property, we have a rehab estimator. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. So I'm going to scroll down on the same property in Aurora, right here on the system, and we have a tab called Rehab Estimator. So we have categories like exterior, interior, plumbing, electric. All you need to do is fill in the blanks. What is it that you're going to do? What is it that you need to fix or replace? And then we're going to give you the basis cost for labor and material. So when you fill this out, you're going to have a really good idea of how much the rehab is going to be. But let me give you a rule of thumb. For B and C markets, take the square footage, multiply it by $20, and add $5,000 to $10,000 cushion. So if the square feet is 1,500 for the property, your rehab, when you multiply that times $20, is going to be 30,000, plus a $10,000 cushion is going to be 40,000. And that's assuming it's a medium rehab where you need to do update kitchen, bathroom, flooring, paint, light plumbing, light electric, perhaps some light fixtures. That's about it. You're not redoing new systems from scratch, right? Like doing new HVAC, new plumbing, new electric, new windows. We're not doing that. So that's our shortcut to quickly come up with a rehab estimation. Another question is not knowing how to write an offer or contract. Okay, so that's coming from Ann. So Ann, let me tell you, when we make an offer, so let me just give you this example, the property that I have in front of me. We know what the numbers are. We know how much to offer. So guess what? Making an offer in ChicagoDealVault takes 3 seconds. Let me just show you. I scroll down and I say make offer. So I click right here. All you need to know is 3 numbers. How much are we going to offer? The most we're going to pay is 30,000, 1, 2, 3. When we're going to close, February 17. And then the earnest money. So we're going to put in 500. That's it. So when I click on submit offer, guess what? It's going to generate the offer for you. It's going to have your contact information. It's going to have your initials, your signature, the whole 9 yards. So this contract is going to be sent to your broker if you have a broker representing you. Otherwise, it's going to be sent in your email. Okay, so it's already pre-filled with our company name, the property address, how much we want to pay for the property, 30,000. When we want to close, earnest money, and then at the bottom, it's already pre-filled, even with your signature. Every page has your initials. So when you set up your account on DealVault, you upload your signature and your initial, and this is where we use them. Or you can scan them, send them to us, and then we're going to upload them to your account. So the last page has the listing agent information. It has obviously our brokerage, our attorney, Gary, Chicago Funding. So by default, we already have some, the brokerage, the attorney. So it takes just seconds. All I need to do is go to my inbox and then just do a forward of this contract to the listing agent. Now the listing agent, you're gonna see that on the details page right here. So if I scroll to the bottom, you're gonna be able to see the listing agent contact information. So I can call him, I can email the offer. So it takes pretty much, I can do this in less than a minute. Generate the offer, email the offer to the listing agent. I mean, it takes just seconds, okay? So now another question. What's the next question? The next question is, are there any areas to find 4 to 6 units on one level? Jerry, do you mean like ranch style, or because multi-units? So 2 to 4 units is considered residential. 5 and up is commercial, okay? So in fact, we're currently looking for some commercial buildings. We've seen some 6 to 12 units. So ChicagoDealVault supports residential 2 to 4, okay? So we're going to the MLS to find the 6, 5 and up, okay, for commercial. So that's for that. Another question is, when calling the private lenders, will they lend to us without being part of Andrew Holmes' mastery group? Debbie. Okay, absolutely. Okay, so they can lend to you. So what the private money lenders need from you, they're gonna need to understand your track record, okay, your experience. They also need to see a great deal. They wanna make sure that you have equity, that you are going to, they're gonna be looking for, once you do the rehab, they need to have at least 25% equity. Example, buy it for 100, put in 50, all in 150. That property needs to appraise for at least 200,000. So you need to have at least on the back end 25% equity after the rehab. They also need to understand your overall experience. And obviously, when you give them a property, like for instance, the one that we talked about in our Aura, they need to know the ARV, they need to know the scope of work, they're gonna need to know what your exit strategy is, because they need to feel comfortable, right, with the approach you're taking, the numbers that you're presenting. So it's very simple, because in ChicagoDealVault, we have you can generate a presentation report to present to the private money lenders and say, listen, I have a successful flip and rental exit strategy. This is my scope of work. These are the comps. Would you be interested in making a 10-12% return on your money, right? So even if you are new, but if you present a great deal that makes sense, that's how you mitigate the risk, right? And not only that, but the property is going to be the collateral. They're going to have a first position lien on your property. The insurance policy, they're going to be on the insurance policy, and there's going to be an assignment of rents. So should you decide to buy and hold the property and you default on the payments, they're going to take over the rents. If the property burns down, they're entitled, they're the beneficiary, and they have a first position lien on the property. So you won't be able to sell the property unless they get paid off, okay? So yeah, private money lenders can lend to newbies so long you present a great deal. So the question is, how do you present the deal to get it funded? Let me show you in 1 minute how to do that. Let me share my screen. So how would I present this deal? Let's assume that I'm brand new. How would I present this? So I have the numbers, right? ARV. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up some comps. I'm going to click on the comps tab right here, and then all I need to do is click on search. Okay, so what this is going to do is going to pull all the 2-bedroom, 1-bath properties, and in fact, this is a 3-bedroom house. Okay, so not a 2-bedroom. So we need to increase the number of bedrooms. But I'm just going to show you the example how quickly you can create a presentation report that you can present to private money lenders. Okay, so right now we're going to find some comps, and then we're going to plug in few numbers for the flip and for the rental exit strategy, and then in seconds I can generate a presentation report that you will typically present to private money lenders. Okay, so let's assume right now we came up with a few comps. I'm going to remove the outliers. So these for 124, I'm going to remove, and then it updates the ARV automatically. So the ARV is 134,000. Okay. So now what I'm going to do next is go to the flip calculator, just as an example, and fill in. We know that we can sell it for 130. The rehab is going to be 50,000. Utilities are going to be about 180 a month. Insurance is going to be probably 90. Taxes, I'm just going to make them up, 350 a month. And then the property cost, we're going to buy it for 30,000. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Calculate. And I can do the same for the rent. Okay. So the rent is 1,300. Utilities are paid by the tenant. Maintenance, we're going to put maybe 75 a month. Management fee, $50 a month. Insurance is going to be, let's say, 90. Taxes is going to be 350. And then we're buying the property for 30,000. 1, 2, 3. Rehab is going to be, again, the same, 50,000. Calculate. So what I'm going to do next is generate report. I'm going to click on this button, generate report. So this is going to generate a presentation report that you can present to the private money lenders. So this is going to have the property information. And not only that, but it's going to have both the flip and buy and hold exit strategy. So how much are you going to be making on the flip? 45,000. Okay, assuming that you spent 50,000 on the rehab, you buy it for 30,000. So 45,000 on the flip, and then if we buy and hold, we're going to be cash flowing 600 if we buy it for 30,000. Okay, and then we're putting the comps, so side by side right here. So we show the comps, and then we put them on the map. And then we also have the option to do the rehab estimator, right? The one that I show you. So this is what the private money lenders want to see. So I'm going to put, just as an example, I'm going to put 10 gutters, right, that we're going to replace. We're going to put in flooring. I'm going to put 300, replace square feet, just as an example, just to show you that once you're all done with the rehab estimation, you calculate it, you save it, and then if I generate the same report, okay, by clicking on generate report, guess what? It's going to include your rehab. So this is important for private money lenders to see. You have both your exit strategies. You see you have the rehab estimator right here. In this case, just as an example, I put in a few items, gutters and flooring, but you need to go line by line, right? Even if you get funding from hard money lenders, they need to see a scope of work, okay? And then obviously we go down to the comps side by side. So this is what you need to present to get your deals funded, okay? So all within ChicagoDealVault, right? With a couple of clicks, boom, you generate exactly what you need. So next, what's the next question? Debbie, so do you contact private money lenders only when you have a property, or should you make initial contact before? You need to make contact before, okay? Absolutely, that is super important. In fact, I keep in touch with most of the close private money lenders that we know, because when we're ready to pull the trigger, I just need to say, hey, Dan or John, I've got a great deal on the contract. Can we move forward with it? Here are the numbers. And then I send them the presentation report that I show you. always keep in touch with them. And in fact, in ChicagoDealVault, we have over 4,000 private money lenders. Let me just show you that in Chicago here. So if I want to find out all the private money lenders in Aurora, see how easy it is. So I just put in Aurora. These are private money lenders who've lent money to investors like you and I. There are 63 private money lenders. And guess what? I can click on their name and boom, I get their phone number. So I can have that presentation report that I show you, and then I can get in touch with them and say, hey, Mark, his name is Mark Peter. I'm gonna say, hey, Mark, I've got a great deal in Aurora. Would you be interested in making a 12% return on your money, right? So I have access to 63 private money lenders. But if I know I'm gonna be investing in Aurora, I want to get in touch with them, right? I wanna find out if they would be interested in making a 10, 12% return on their money, right? And we have right here the templates that you can use when you get in touch with them. So we have like about 4 or 5 templates that you can see. This is sort of the script that you're gonna use to communicate with them when you get in touch with them. So great question, Debbie. Another question, are there any other questions? Jerry, another question. On some pre-foreclosures, the filing date is back in 2016 and 2017. Is there a way in DealVault to check if that property is still in foreclosure before pursuing it? Okay, great question. So very simple. Some of these, first of all, we keep archives, right? So we want to see the history of a property 2, 3, 4 years back. So the way to find out if the property has been sold and if they're in pre-foreclosure, let me show you. Very simple. So I open up a pre-foreclosure. So the owner is Marek, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down and click on the owner loans tab. This is going to give me the latest owner information, okay? So if I scroll down, it's still Mark. So Mark is still on title on this property. So I can see that this property has not been sold yet. So he's still the owner of this property, okay? And why? Oh, okay, because the filing date was last November. So this is a new pre-foreclosure, right? So obviously he's still the owner, it's still in pre-foreclosure. But if I find an old listing in the pre-foreclosure, I can just check to make sure the current owner is or is not the latest owner under the owner loan tab, right? Because we're gonna pull the latest records from the courthouse. So we're gonna know who the latest owner is, and if it doesn't match the one shown right here, then that means that the property's been sold. So great question. Are there any other questions? Any roadblocks? Any other questions that I can address? Any roadblocks? Okay, so what's all preventing you from being more successful? I want to know that, okay? Because we want to add value to your business. We want to make sure that you are successful, even more successful than before, okay? And not in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. We want to make sure that you're successful 2021, okay? So we want to make all our resources available to you. So let's just quickly summarize what we just covered today. What makes it a great flipping market? If you're thinking about flips, please think about micro flipping, small flips, less than 50,000. Pick a property, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, or 2-bedroom, 1-bath, less than 2,000 square feet. Ideally, less than 1,700 square feet. Okay, and focus on flipping markets. So a flipping market means that the properties are moving like hotcakes. That means that they're going to stay on the market for less than 2.5 months. Like Aurora, properties are going to be on the market for a month and a half, and then boom, they're gone. That means that the demand is so high, yet the inventory is so low. So if you can do a flip in a top flipping market, that's when you're going to maximize your returns and minimize your risk. Now, when doing a flip, you need to have 3 numbers down for a property to make it a great deal. Okay, you need to understand the ARV. Like the example that I gave you is going to be somewhere in the 130, 140. you need to know the rehab for this one is going to be 55, maybe 60,000, and then you need to understand the most you should pay for the property. The formula is ARV times 70 minus the rehab. Okay, so the most we should pay for the property, given the numbers that I gave you, should be somewhere in the 35,000. Okay, so we're willing to pay 30,000. We want to have enough cushion. A tip of advice: even if you're doing a rental, aim to pay the flip price. In case you change your mind, you have both exit strategies at your disposal. You can either sell it or buy and hold. Now, when it comes to the ARV, the rehab, and the most you should pay, that's what I love about the system, right? So I just go into DealVault, do a power search, find the property, and boom, I have the numbers. But obviously, you need to do your due diligence, okay? If you want to make an offer within seconds, you can make it from ChicagoDealVault, whether it's in the MLS or off market. In seconds, we generate the offer. So again, stick to small flips. You're going to be making money when you get a great deal on the contract, because think about this. Remember, please, the money is not in the rehab. Otherwise, contractors, construction companies would be extremely wealthy, but that's not where the money is. In fact, the bigger the rehab, the bigger the risk, the bigger the chance for you to lose money. So stick to very small contained flips where the rehab is less than 50,000, purchase price and all in is less than 200,000. We found that out. That is when you can maximize your return and minimize your risk. Okay. And then we're gonna have a face-off of a flipper, a rental umpire guy, and a wholesaler. So make sure that you join that next Sunday. So it's gonna be really cool. Now, Lori, how much is DealVault? Okay, so we're gonna give it to you today for free, all our resources for the next 30 days. And then if you decide to stay, it's gonna be $140 per month. The cool thing is that you have unlimited training. And guess what we're gonna roll out in about a week's time? We're putting together a very comprehensive training, okay? It's gonna be a 10-week training. So we're gonna go from essentials to success to area selection, finding deals, doing great analysis, funding or making offers, funding, rehabbing, property management. So it's going to be a very comprehensive training. So I'm so much looking forward to releasing that to all of you. Plus, you have unlimited one-on-one training with our professional trainers when you join ChicagoDealVault. Again, we want to make sure that you have all the resources available to you to be successful. We built over 30 rentals in the last 2.5 years. So we want to make sure that you mimic our success. Okay, so we're making all our resources available to you. Okay, in ChicagoDealVault, we have over 250 preferred partners, from contractors, GCs, plumbers, electricians, attorneys, harmony lenders, private money lenders. So we're sharing all of them with you, along with all the top flipping and top rental markets. Okay, so within seconds, you can know the area like the back of your hand. And that's one of the biggest mistakes investors make, including ourselves when we started doing a flip in a non-flipping market, because the market time could be 6, 7, 8 months. I'm not kidding you. There are markets where the months of housing supply is 8, 9 months. So imagine you're going to be stuck with the property for like almost a year, incurring current cost, right? So your net profit, boom, is going to be gone when you realize it. So please invest in top flipping markets if you're thinking about doing a flip. Now, when do you usually pay the lender back? Is it until the property gets sold? Absolutely. If you're doing a flip, when you sell the property, you pay off the private money lender, okay? Or if it's money through a hard money lender, you can refinance if you're gonna keep the property as a rental and then pay them off, okay? Another question, is there a shortage of contractors since this is a hot market? Absolutely. Even the bad ones are really busy today. But guess what? In the winter is when you want to buy properties and rehab them, because guess what? People slow down in the winter, okay? And especially now with COVID, but that's when you're gonna tend to have less competition and you're gonna be able to pay less money for the properties versus the spring, the summer. That's when more people are more active. Therefore, you're gonna end up with more competition. The issue right now is the shortage of inventory. Every property going to the MLS is a seller's market. You end up in a multiple offer situation. And the worst part of it is that you face, out of 60 people, half of them do not know what they're doing. Therefore, they overpay for the property, right? But if you know what you're doing, you'll never lose a penny in real estate, right? When you know the most you should pay, when you know how much you can sell the property for, how long your property is going to be on the market, what your rehab is going to be, right? We want to give you the tools, the knowledge for you to be successful today. Great question. Contractor fees go up, absolutely, but in the winter, lower. In the spring, summer, they are in greater demand. So in fall, spring, summer, their fees go up. But right now, you can get better rates, okay? And you can find better contractors right now. Again, we share them with you on their preferred partners in ChicagoDealVault. Sam, the properties you offer as wholesale, is there any guarantee the buyer makes money if the repair stays in the amount you suggested? Great question, Sam. So we partner up with top wholesalers, so we promote their deals. But if you're interested in those deals, you need to do your own due diligence, right? Because sometimes when they come up with their own rehab or their own ARV, it may not be 100% accurate. So you always need to confirm those numbers, right? Because it's your investment, it's your money. So you want to make sure that if you're going to buy a wholesale, that the numbers make sense. So thank you, Sam. Are there any other question on the line? Is there any other roadblocks that you're facing? What is it that is preventing you from doing deals today? I want to make sure that we knock them off. So again, Phil, can you please send the instructions for people to get free access for the next 30 days, unlimited training? And again, we're going to be releasing a 10-week training that is going to start in about a week's time. So I want to make sure that you are all part of it. If you're already an existing DealVault member, we're going to give you access to our new portal. It's a training portal. That's where we're going to have all the training so that you start in a sequential manner. We're going to take you to a 10-week program as part of ChicagoDealVault, right? Because we want to make sure that you know what you're doing in a matter that makes sense sequence-wise, okay? Luis, do you add the closing costs when buying a property to the total? Absolutely. So when we did the analysis, let me just quickly show you. It's about closing costs are about, if you are, depending if you are a buyer or a seller, but right now they're taking into account on the flip calculator. So right here, sale cost. We already have 54,000 on 152.82 sale price. Okay, so it's a percentage. It's about 2-3% closing cost. Okay, that's on the buy side. On the sell side, obviously, it's going to be higher because you're paying the listing agent at least 5% plus 3%. So if you are the seller, closing costs are going to be about 8% of the sell price. If you're on the buy side, it's going to be about 2%, 2 to 3%. Another question, does the Harmony lenders want me to have a skin in the game? Absolutely, Sam. They want you to have at least 10 to 15% down payment, okay? And not only that, even if they're gonna finance 100% of the rehab, you need to, they're not gonna give you the money up front. It's taken in draws. So you need to pretty much out of pocket pay for the first milestone. Once you complete it, they do an inspection, and then you can request a draw for that first milestone, okay? But yeah, they want you to have 10 to 15% skin on the game. Whereas when you use private money lenders, guess what? They can finance 100% of the purchase and 100% of the rehab. In fact, we're doing 2 deals right now. We got 100% of the purchase price and 100% of the rehab, okay? So one of the properties is going to be finished this week, okay? So we hope to get it on the market and then pay off our partner, our private money lender, okay? So we started the project about 4 weeks ago. So it was in and out. That's what I was telling you, right? It's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. very small. The rehab is going to be between 25 to 30 once it's all said and done this week. So it's a small project, right? So we want to be in and out. About 4 weeks of rehab, and then market time. Hopefully, we do a rental. We get it rented before February 1st. That's the objective. Another question is how are we going to know when the 10-week class is going to start? Okay, yeah, we're gonna let you know, Debbie. So it's gonna be super, super powerful. In fact, let me show you what the outline is. I have it up on the screen. It's gonna be super, super amazing. I'm so much looking forward to it. So I'm sharing my screen. This is going to be the outline. So we're right now building the portal where all this information is gonna be. Week 1, essentials for success. Week 2, area selection. Week 3, finding the deals. You know, what's a great deal? How do you find them? We're gonna go over the foreclosure process, short sales, online auctions. Week 4, deal analysis. Week 5, contracts. 6, funding, all the sources for funding, right? 6, closing the deal. And finally, 8, 9, and 10. 8 is rehab. 9 is property management. And 10, we're gonna share our strategy, how we've done over 30 rentals in the last 2 years. So we're gonna share our strategy, okay? And then partnerships. So it's gonna be really, really amazing. We're gonna start this off in about a week's time. If you're a DealVault member, you're gonna hear from us, okay? Because you're gonna be part of this group. It's gonna be super, super amazing. I'm so much looking forward to it. Are there any other questions? Yes, it's Hugo for Mastery members. We have unlimited Chicago DealVault, or what is the time for it? Okay, if you're a Mastery, you get a special discount if you're a Mastery student for Chicago DealVault. But again, you can try it, and there's no commitment, right? So try it for free. Let us train you. Let us give you a lot of value, and then you decide whether you still want to be part of this amazing team. Okay. Thank you, Phil, for your great support. Again, Wednesday we have a meeting. We're gonna be talking about what strategies, tactics you should take on for 2021. We're gonna have Gary Davidson talk about his take on the economy and what you should be doing. So please make sure that you join on Wednesday. For those of you who are part of the Wholesale Inner Circle, I will see you all tomorrow, 6:30. So by the way, if you guys are interested in doing wholesales, we have a team of about 80 wholesalers. It's amazing. It's part of DealVault. It's a new branch. And if you want to be part of this meeting tomorrow, send us an email to support@ChicagoDealVault. We're going to invite you to our meeting tomorrow. In fact, guess what? It's super exciting. Today we got 2 contracts, okay, from our students, from our members. So we're going to be talking about them tomorrow. So it's super exciting. Over 80 people. If you want to be part of this group, please send us an email to support@ChicagoDealVault. We're going to send you the invite for this meeting, okay? So in this meeting, we typically have over 40 people. It's really amazing. So we're so much looking forward to having you in this meeting, the Wholesale Inner Circle, if you're thinking about doing wholesales, okay? So please send us an email, and then we're gonna invite you for tomorrow's meeting at 6:30. If you don't wanna do wholesales, that's okay. We can, I'll see you Wednesday at 6:30. I'm gonna remain on the line for the next couple of minutes to answer any questions via the chat. You can feel free to unmute yourself. So thank you everyone for joining. I will see you all tomorrow 6:30 if you're in the Wholesale Inner Circle, or Wednesday with Gary Davidson at 6:30. So thank you everyone for joining. I hope you learned a lot. Most importantly, execution trumps knowledge. Start making offers, talking to sellers, talking to owners, okay? So thank you everyone for joining today. I so much look forward to seeing you tomorrow, 6:30, wholesalers, and then Wednesday, the rest of you, okay? So thank you everyone for joining. I'm gonna be on the line for the next couple of minutes to help you answer questions, give you resources, anything that you need, any roadblock that you may have, we're gonna help you.